If you like this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. For just $1 a month, your name can appear at the beginning of this and many other upcoming videos.
SpongeBob! Let go of the pizza!
No! It's for the customer!
SpongeBob! Let go of the pizza!
No!
SpongeBob! Hang on to the pizza!
So this was something that happened? I mean, it's not a bad episode, but it's not exactly a good one either. It sort of feels like something that's just there. Apparently growing up is hard to do is the real Final CMC episode, which I don't know why we're getting because we already got a Final CMC episode. But does this one feel more conclusive? Well, no, it doesn't. And that's probably where the problem starts. The CMC have plans to go to a fair in Appaloosa, but they can't seem to find anyone to take them there. And they can't go by themselves because they're too young, even though there's a lot of instances where they've been allowed to travel on their own. They wish to be grown-ups next to a wish-granting flower, and of course, they're now fully grown ponies who can travel to the fair by themselves. They talk about all the things they can do as adults, how great it is to be an adult, sing a song about how it's great to be an adult, and well, obviously things don't go the way they thought they would. The way the episode is paced is extremely predictable, and it's basically because they don't pull any surprises with this kind of story. They pretty much do everything you think they're gonna do here. The kids can't do something because they're not adults, they wish to be adults, start to think about how great it'll be to be an adult, show that they have no idea what being an adult actually is, and they learn a lesson about how you shouldn't be in a hurry to grow up. And because of how predictable the story is, it just feels like it's dragging on. And it wouldn't be so bad except they don't really do anything funny with it. A good chunk of the humor just feels like it's going through the motions and not really sticking the landing. With all this combined, the episode just has this sluggish pace to it, which doesn't make it very interesting to sit through. They even do that thing where the adults warn them about all the things that could happen to them because they don't know how to take care of themselves, and then all the stuff they said would happen ends up happening. But why does it even happen at all? The CMC have been shown to be really smart and aware of their surroundings in the past. They were kids, but they matured and grew mentally and emotionally through the course of 9 seasons. Now in this episode, they're not smart enough to double check which train they're going on, or forgetting about 2 new friends they said they were gonna help out because they got caught up in the excitement. It just makes the CMC look dumb when they're supposed to be much smarter than this. I get the approach that they're little kids in the bodies of grown-ups, but they shouldn't be this oblivious after 9 seasons of development. Their personalities are just watered down to being full of themselves and overconfident, and it just comes across as pretentious. They act like this almost the whole episode, and it gets really old. And I just have to ask, why exactly is this the final CMC episode? There's no feeling of true growth or any sort of closure for their story here. It's just seeing them do things as grown-ups and not knowing anything about being a grown-up. It's not a bad idea for an episode, but it doesn't do anything interesting with it. And it just feels so forgettable as what's being presented as the last CMC episode. The Last Crusade, in spite of its flaws, was a much more conclusive and satisfying ending for the trio. It wasn't perfect, but it felt like it did the job right. The CMC had their personalities intact. The conflict had a strong weight to it. It added meaning to their friendship. It highlights both their strengths and weaknesses, so there's a sense of balance in how they act. It brought back all the characters they helped in the past. It had cameos that contributed to the theme of the story. It highlighted the importance of the CMC staying together, and their job helping others find their place in life. It showed just how far they've come since the start of the series. It had a sense of triumph by highlighting everything they accomplished in 9 seasons. It was such a great way to send them off, and it felt like the ideal way to end their story. This episode just feels like a throwaway idea. Like they were curious about what the CMC would be like as adults and just had the entire episode revolve around that. But there isn't that much appeal to the episode outside of it. This episode just doesn't have much of what people loved about the CMC. It doesn't have the interesting chemistry, distinct personality types, the dynamic between them and how their personalities complement each other. It's just seeing them act immature while in the bodies of adults, and the novelty just doesn't have a strong feel to it. I will admit the episode does have some nice things in it. The song, in spite of its obvious theme, is still a nice song. There's a good sense of harmonizing between the trio, and the instrumentals do a good job complementing their vocal performances. Twilight and Fluttershy reacting to the town being thrown into chaos is a really funny moment. There's a real sense of build-up in the joke. And seeing Twilight casually talking and not noticing everyone running in terror has a humorous vibe to it. And the reaction they have when the CMC explain the situation is golden. They've been putting up with the CMC for so long that they're not even surprised by their antics anymore. The creepy conductor pony makes a return, and he's by far the best part of the episode. He's just oozing with presence in his creepy speech pattern and leaves a memorable impression despite his minimal screen time. Troubleshoes gets a cameo that shows how he's found a new place at the fair and has been adjusting himself to a new life pretty well. And Spurt and Biscuit act as a nice catalyst for the lesson the episode is trying to teach. They even teach a nice little lesson about handling responsibilities as a pet owner. But aside from that, this episode just feels forgettable. It's harmless, but mostly just dull. Even the moral and the way that it's taught just feels dull. It's not a bad moral, but it just comes across as really obvious and put in a story that doesn't make it interesting. Take a slow path in becoming a grown-up because there's a lot of things you should learn before you do. But the CMC were just way too oblivious for their behavior in this episode to be believable. Maybe if it was Rumble or some of the other kids from the camp it would make sense, but the CMC? It just feels out of place. I guess the best way to describe the episode is inoffensive. It doesn't really do anything wrong, it just doesn't leave a memorable impression. But because it's being presented as the real final CMC episode, it comes across as lazy and forgettable. But I guess you can't win them all, and we still have The Last Crusade to look back on. So until next time, take care of yourselves and stay awesome. This is Map signing out.